Today we have a special guest. His name is Diocletian. Diocletian, come on in. So, Diocletian, how was the traffic?
It's pretty good.
Alright. So, I'm going to ask you a few questions on this show. I know the fans have been wanting to ask you a few, coming up from Twitter and all over the internet. So, one main question was, when and where were you born?
Alright, so I was born 245 AD in Dalmatia, which is a Roman province on the east coast of the Adriatic Sea. I was born of humble origins. My father was like a freed slave who was a scribe, so.
Sounds pretty interesting. Now, there is a legend of how you rose to power. Could you explain the details of the legend?
Alright, well, to start, my original name was Diocles, and I was told by some seer that if I was able to slaughter a boar, I'd become emperor of Rome. For a couple of years, I took this advice literally and killed a bunch of boars. I became a great hunter, but never got closer to the throne. So, like a few years later, while fighting a battle of the Tigris, Emperor Numerianus died, and Aper, one of his officers, declared himself to be the successor and become the next emperor. Now, Aper is Latin word for boar, so I believe that Aper was the boar that I had to kill. So, pretty much I just thrust my sword into Aper's breast and killed him. And I was hailed emperor by all the legions, so I needed a more better imperial name, so I like my name to Diocletianus, which is shortened to Diocletian.
That sounds immensely confusing. Okay. Now, what do you believe was your greatest impact on the Roman society?
Not to say it would be my administrative reforms.
Could you elaborate on these reforms?
Sure. When I came into power on November 17th, my bad, 284, I did not have complete control of the empire, so...
Sorry to cut you off, but could you exactly explain how you became the master of the empire first?
Why not? Okay, so when I was declared emperor, Rome was in a state of disaster. In reality, I only had complete control of the empire where my army dominated, which was obviously not the entire empire. So the countries I did control were Asia Minor and Syria. The rest were loyal to Carinus, Numerianus' brother. Inevitably, after Carinus subdued the rebellion of Julianus, we came to conflict. Then after the Battle of Danube, Carinus was assassinated by soldiers and became master of the empire in 285, and it was actually then when I changed my name to Gaius Aurelius Valerius Diocletianus.
It's a pretty long name. Now, could you talk about your initial administrative reforms in the empire?
Sure. So obviously after Civil War, there was great instability in the empire, and after revolt by soldiers at the coast was quelled, revolts pretty much threatened to erupt everywhere. Thus, I chose Maximian, a capable and loyal general to be commander of the western part of the empire in 286.
Okay. So what happened after you appointed Maximian to your co-ruler?
Well, in the next 7 years, from 286 to 293, a revolt in Gaul, Germany, and Scythia were all suppressed. And Egypt was a different story because Carausius, a Roman admiral, posed a threat to Maximian and I. And Carausius was not beloved. So Maximian and I withdrew our troops from contested areas in Egypt.
What was it at this point when your biggest reforms of the government were made?
I would have to say yes, because a rebellion would occur on a weekly basis. I accepted that lasting peace throughout the entire empire was unfeasible. So after assessing Rome's strengths and weaknesses, I decided that internal peace was the key to prosperity. Thus, I turned my attention to reforming the government.
Very responsible actions were taken. Now, what were those additional reforms?
I came to realize that defensive walls are useless, as the biggest threat to the empire were upstart generals in the interior. So for me, the solution would be a tetrarchy, which is essentially dividing Rome into 4 sections. Eventually, it was me, Maximian, Constantius, and Galerius.
Sounds pretty interesting. How did you choose who ruled each section of the empire?
Well, since I took my primary residence in Nicomedia, I watched over the east in order to prevent Germanic invasions. I was responsible for Thrace, Asia, and Egypt. I gave myself the title of Augustus. Galerius was made my Caesar, and residing in Sirmia, he watched over Ilaria, the Danubian provinces, and Greece. Maximian declared himself Augustus of the West, ruling over Italy, Sicily, Africa. Constantius, who became Maximian's Caesar, ruled over Tyre, Gaul, Spain, and Britain. In order to strengthen the tetrarchy, each Augustus adopted a Caesar. Furthermore, Galerius married my daughter Valeria, while Constantius left his wife Helena in order to marry Theodora, the stepdaughter of Maximian. Fun fact, actually, Helen was the mother of Constantine. So, in order to further bolster the authority of the tetrarchy, I implemented a theocracy. Due to legend of the boar, I decreed myself to be Jovius, while Maximian was named Herculeus.
A lot of names, a lot of name changing. Where were these reforms successful?
Yes, Maximian put down reforms in Gaul. Constantius put Britain back into the empire after a 10-year struggle with Carausius. Mauritania and Danubia remained loyal. I put down a rebellion in Egypt. Galerius defeated Narses, king of Persia. In fact, peace remained in the eastern part of the empire until the rise of Constantine.
Now, did you make any domestic reforms after peace was restored?
Yes, I not only took away power from the already weakened Senate, I made sure that there was an absolute monarchy at my disposal. Furthermore, I designated councils in making laws. I also ensured that power of the Praetorian Guard was weakened by implementing imperial consulars and specialized offices. I essentially created a bureaucracy. I also enforced old values of Roman civilization. For example, I was concerned in the obligation of children caring for their parents at old age. I also discouraged use of torture if there were other ways to find the truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, is a great man we have here, Diocletian. Okay, and what military reforms did you make?
Well, I restored several old military traditions.
What old traditions, such as the 20-year service period?
Well, if you want me to explain, I'll tell you. Where was I? Yes, I restored some old military disciplines. For instance, I exempted soldiers from duty after 20 years of service, which was very old tradition. I also reduced the price of equipment for soldiers. I did, however, reorganize the army. So, yeah.
And how so?
Well, I sent local troops to the frontiers, which was an issue in previous dynasties of the Roman Empire. Furthermore, I made the ready army domestic. These reforms effectively increased troop strength by 4, according to Lactantius.
Certainly. Such policies must have been very expensive. How did you manage to implement them?
So, in order to get more refunds, I instituted 2 new taxes, the jugum and the capitatio. The jugum was a tax on a unit of cultivable land. The capitatio was a tax on individuals. Of course, the new taxes was also based on, according to economic factors, production and time of cultivation was grown. Taxes were collected every 5 years, but later assessments were made every 15 years in a cycle called an indictio. All Romans were required to pay these taxes, even Italy, which was free of taxation for a long time.
Did you make monetary reforms?
Yes, in fact, I restored gold and silver coins and created a new bronze coin. I also decentralized minting with an increase in the number of mints from 8 to 15. I also encouraged the circulation of small coins to facilitate more financial activity in the empire.
You are known for persecuting Christians. In fact, you're the last emperor to actually persecute Christians. Care to elaborate?
I mean, my Caesar and I, Galerius, were fanatic followers of the traditional Roman religion, as we were accepted as Roman deities. I wanted to have complete unity in Rome, so tolerance of other cults could not be accepted. Foreign cults, such as Christianity, were actually seen as separatist cults. Furthermore, there was a lot of anti-Christian philosophers, such as Porphyr, who had a lot of influence, and I actually published the 4 edicts of 303 to 304. Promising all the while that I would not spill blood on the Christians. However, this vow went unheeded, and persecution spread throughout the entire empire with an extreme violence that did not succeed in denying Christianity. it actually caused the faith to blaze forth, but yeah, there's a lot of persecution during my reign as president.
Sounds like your reign was very successful. A few steps back, many steps forward. That's all the time we have for Diocletian. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for our guest.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.